Hey everyone, Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got a lot to cover as we continue the Victory Road tournament and What If Ash won the Hoenn League. But before we get into that, we gotta thank the patron as always. So, Luis Cervantes, thank you very much for the support. And you guys, analytics are very important, so please don't forget to drop a like and a comment on the video to help fuel the algorithm. And if this is your first time here, please don't forget to turn on notifications and subscribe so that way you'll never miss another upload from the channel. And if you want to help support us even further, please consider becoming a patron or a YouTube channel member. You get exclusive access to things that I don't post on the main channel, plus early access to everything that I do. But with all that being said, let's get into What If Ash Won the Hoenn League, the finale, part 1. I hope you enjoy. We begin today's part in the exact aftermath that we left off in the last battle. Both Ash and Tyson watch on as they try to figure out what is going on. Down below, Morrison and Katie are looking on in stunned silence as the crowd watches on, awaiting the official ruling. However, this won't take long as the official announcement is given, declaring Morrison as the winner. This causes an immediate outburst from Katie as she is having a meltdown over this decision. "This can't be," she yells, walking to the official. "There's no way I lost to this buffoon." However, the ref points out that Katie is out of Pokemon. Morrison still has one left, but the former cool beauty challenges this notion, stating that Morrison lost his last Pokemon the same as she did, so that makes it a draw. That means that she would be made the winner as she is the more competent trainer. However, she understands that it may appear as favoritism, so she will allow them to declare this a draw so that way they can have a rematch. That way the people can get the finale that they deserve. But the ref refuses to budge on this issue, stating that their decision stands. Morrison will be moving on to the finals. This triggers the final cosmic meltdown of Katie as she begins to go nuclear in front of the whole stadium. Unsure on how to handle this girl, the ref calls for security, which prompts an immediate response from Sydney and Zabsol. The girl is ranting and raving, babbling on about how this isn't fair. There's no way that Morrison can beat her, but this is going to be stopped by an aggressive response from Sydney.
Alright, love, that'll be the end of that. You lost, and since you don't accept the verdict quietly, I'm gonna have to ask you to come with me and Absol, unless you want this to get physical in front of everyone.
Looking around, Katie's beginning to see that things are against her. No one can see the sheer madness of this decision. However, she refused to let this travesty stand. There has to be some way out of this. But she thinks she sees her way out of this, as Mr. Goodshow has now come down to the battlefield. Katie pleads her case to the old man, as she had done before. However, he remains silent, causing Katie to calm down for a moment as she realizes that Goodshow is awaiting for her to settle down so that way he can address the situation. The old man finally speaks into the mic, stating that he can see that there is some confusion that needs to be set straight. This causes a relief to wash over Katie, as there is finally someone with a sense of addressing the issue. Goodshow then goes on to recap the last moments of the battle. Golduck fell to Electrode as it couldn't deal with the speed and took a great amount of damage from a shockwave that was unleashed throughout the battlefield. Katie then sent back in Exploud, which seemed that it was going to win. Electrode was clearly outclassed. "Yes, that's right," Katie says. However, Sydney is quick to silence the girl with a jerk of her arm.
Let the man finish.
Goodshow eyes the two before continuing. Morrison seemed to be in a tight spot after causing minimal damage to your Pokemon, so in a moment of desperation, he decided to use an explosion. This left both your Pokemon and his knocked out. "Yes, that's right. So we have a draw. I'm glad to see that you see things my way. It's okay that your officials are incompetent. We can do the—" But Katie is cut off. "My dear, I'm afraid that you have looked over one fact in this battle. While Electrode and Exploud were both knocked out, that didn't mean that Morrison was out of Pokemon." Goodshow then points up at the scoreboard, telling Katie to look. Doing so, the cool beauty feels her heart sink into her stomach. She can't believe it. How could she have overlooked that? This is where we see what Goodshow is pointing at. Morrison still has one Pokemon that is active. The one that caused all of Katie's trouble in the first place. His insomniatic Murkrow. She never took it out. "Wait, there has to be some sort of mistake," she yells. "I wouldn't make a mistake like that. I'm the best that Lilycode has to offer." Goodshow simply ignores her and turns to Morrison. "Congratulations, young man. You won fair and square. I must say, your battle was enjoyable to watch. I look forward to seeing what you can do in the finals." "Thank you," Morrison says in a bit of stunned speech. Goodshow then walks off, leaving the boy as Sydney deals with the now irate Katie.
Suck it up, princess, you lost. Now deal with it. I don't have time for you to chuck a wobbly. Now come quietly or Absol will have something to say about your behavior.
As the cool beauty is drug away, the crowd finally gets the chance to cheer. This causes Morrison to finally come back to reality as he looks around. Immediately, the boy sees Ash at the top of the stands. As soon as their eyes lock, Morrison knows that Ash will be his opponent, which is going to be confirmed with the announcement via the screen above showing the two are scheduled for a battle the very next afternoon. Looking back at Morrison, Ash feels an eagerness that is welling up inside of him. This is the first time our hero is in the finals of a major tournament. It's something that he wasn't expecting, and he isn't quite sure how to navigate it, but nonetheless, he is happy that it is going to be against his friend that he has known since coming out to the region. Smiling, Tyson states that he looks forward to this battle that Ash and Morrison will be having. He is happy for them both and will be rooting for them in the finals. Thanks, Ash says, as we fade up to the champion box. Mr. Goodshow has rejoined the others. Walking into the room, a brief chuckle comes from the old man. The reason for this is because of the look that is on Glacier's face. So I take it you are not pleased with our finalists?
These two are absolutely the worst choices that we could have. I had such high hopes for this round of trainers. But it appears I am cursed to be surrounded by incompetence no matter how we hold the tournament. The thought of it makes my stomach turn in ways that are most unpleasant.
With another chuckle, Goodshow tells Glacia that even though she can't see it, there is raw, untapped potential here, which is seconded by Sydney as he walks in from dealing with Katie.
I think you're spot on, old man. Ever since I met the boy, Ash has shown me something I've only seen in a few trainers in my whole life.
Let me guess. He reminds you of how you were as a young trainer?
Well, I would like to say that. I have to admit there's something more. Something that only comes along once in a generation. As for his opponent, the one called Morrison, that boy is dense, but he's the grandson of Moore. While I don't know the old fella too well, even you have to admit, Glace, that's gotta count for something.
The cold-hearted elite says nothing to this, knowing full well that whether she wants to admit it or not, Sydney has a point about Morrison, though the boy is something that she refuses to give an inch on. Goodshow enjoys the constant disagreements of his elites. His belief is that it will foster better ideas and motivations when it comes time to perform, so he asks Steven and Phoebe to weigh in on this. The champion really has nothing to add. With them down a member, they have much more to worry about than some disagreements on who could be their next challenger. While Steven is a kind soul and a powerful trainer, he is still the son of the greatest businessman that Hoenn has ever seen. So as far as he's concerned, this is a moment of weakness, even saying so to the others in a serious tone. However, this doesn't seem to bother Goodshow in the slightest, as the old man laughs, asking Phoebe if she agrees with Steven's assessment.
While I don't like the fact that Drake has seemingly abandoned us, I have to admit the thought of the unknown gets me excited. No matter what happens at the end of this year's competition, things will change forever. It's not the end I want to see, but the journey to get there. It's just like the ghost type. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, something changes and you have to adapt to it.
I couldn't agree more, the old man says. Now let's focus on the task at hand. Tomorrow we will have a new Victory Road champion, so let's make sure we enjoy the last bit of the Evergrande Conference. I'm sure the other details will fall into place once we get past it. Once again, Steven doesn't feel the same way, but Goodshow is the president, and the only person that can override him as far as things go like this. So, like it or not, the champion is going to have to go with the vibes. So, as the sun sets on the day of the top 4 battles, we fade back across the region. It is here we see a very familiar Dragon Master departing from the Lavaridge gym. Drake, I hope you have found what you came here looking for.
More! You and I go way back. The only one that I could trust in for words of wisdom is someone who has seen the world change as much as me.
You know, we did start our journeys at the same time, the way we were as kids. The whole world was our playground. The battles, rivalries, and friendships. We didn't know it then, but they would shape the way we view things now.
Time is funny like that. Though we didn't know how finite it was back then. I guess it's something that we all struggle with.
Drake, it is. However, I think you need to remember something. Things will change. Time is the great equalizer for all of us. Life will always challenge us in ways we didn't expect by dropping hints of change. It's up to us to read them in a way that best suits you.
Thanks, old friend.
So, does that mean you are going to do what I think you're going to?
Like the sea, I must follow its lead, though it still hasn't been revealed to me. Or maybe it has, and I've just been ignoring it the whole time.
Drake then pops a ball and takes off into the sunset on the back of his dragon. Moore watches as his friend disappears into the distance, happy that Drake has seemingly found calm in the storm that seems to have been plaguing him for some years now. Now we follow up with our heroes. It is the night of the top 4 battles, and they are in the eatery at the Pokemon Center. Ash is celebrating with all of his friends, including Tyson and Morrison. The two are excited for the match that is to come. This is where Max asks the question if Ash is nervous about facing Morrison. After all, he doesn't think that he would be okay battling someone that he has become so close to. Ash simply chuckles. I was in this position before. When it was in the Kanto League, there was a trainer that I became very good friends with. We ended up battling in the 5th round, but he beat me due to a combination of bad luck and my Charizard not listening to me at the time. How did you deal with losing to a friend like that? Max questions. At the time, facing a friend like that was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. Then, when I lost, it felt like everything I worked for was for nothing. This statement rings with 2 people at the table. One is May, as the way she has been feeling as of late, struggling with the thought of leaving her friends, and Ash talking about how his journey was forced to come to an end hits her in a particular way. This begins to run through her inner thoughts, but as this happens, the redhead Morrison bolts up from the table and takes off out of the center without a word. This leaves everyone in shock. However, the one that does respond is Ash, grabbing his hat and taking off after his friend. Once outside, Ash can see that Morrison is headed into a wooded area. Quickly, the boy runs over, trying to catch up, but he unfortunately loses sight of Morrison among the overgrowth and is forced to stop before he gets lost. Standing there with Pikachu on his shoulder, Ash knows what this is about, so he does the only thing that he can. Ash begins to yell into the void, telling Morrison that he can't avoid the battle. He and his Pokemon worked hard to get here just like everyone else. The fact that they are the ones battling shouldn't make a difference, but there is no response. Turning, Ash says that he hopes Morrison will be there at their battle tomorrow. They owe it to each other and their Pokemon to do so. The boy then heads back inside, leaving Morrison, who heard everything, to think about what Ash said. But it's much more than just what Ash thinks, and the redhead isn't confident that he will be able to live up to the legacy that is before him. As Morrison struggles with this dilemma, we move over a couple of hours as we see Ash ending a call with Professor Oak. He was changing up his team for the match that they have with Morrison. As the call ends, Brock calls to Ash. So, are you ready for the finals? Yeah, I got all the Pokemon that I intend to use. Ash then thanks Brock. This catches the breeder off guard, causing him to ask why. Ash states that he has always been there for him when he needed him. Brock has been the one to keep him grounded when it was important. If he hadn't have been there to remind Ash that his Pokemon were his equals, then he may have lost the top 4 battle. Brock says that it's easy to lose sight of things that can be the most important. The one thing you hadn't really done was make your Pokemon part of your goal, but I can see that has changed, the breeder says as he watches Ash feed a piece of the Master Block to Pikachu. Smiling, Ash says that he's glad that Brock has shared his journey with him, though the boy knows that this may be their last one. Brock questions what Ash means. The boy states that he knows Brock wants to write his paper. He knows that it'll help bring the benefits of Pokeblock to the rest of the world, but that means that their path may start to diverge. It's something that Ash has been prepared for when he came to Hoenn. He is just glad that they got to do it one more time. Smiling, Brock states that he is too. They have had many adventures together, but life changes. This is something that they can't avoid, Ash responds. Let's just make the most of the time that we have left. Both Ash and Brock smile, knowing that the moments that they have left are going to be the most precious that they have ever had. As they continue to talk, we find May, as she has gone for another one of her nightly walks that she has become so fond of as of late. The girl is walking in the same area that Ash was in a few hours before. As she continues to stroll, enjoying the night air, as it seems to be the only thing that carries away the thoughts that cloud her mind, May hears what seems to be sniveling close by. Unsure of what it is, she cautiously calls out to the sound, stating that she doesn't mean them any harm, but the snap of a twig causes her to jump just a bit. Hey, I'm a really powerful trainer, she says, so you better back off, May declares as she readies the Pokeball of Blaziken. Don't worry, I'm not going to cause you any harm, a voice murmurs as, from within the growth, a very slow Morrison emerges, just to plop down on the ground in a sad pool of confusion. This causes May to breathe a sigh of relief. The girl asks Morrison if he's okay, not really expecting an answer. However, unlike earlier, Morrison lets out everything in a solid breath about all the stuff that has been plaguing his mind over the last few hours since his win over Katie. It's so much that May has to tell the boy to slow down and speak a little clearer, as she can barely make out what he is blubbering about. Sniffling and choking back the tears, Morrison goes on to state that he is just overwhelmed. Crouching down next to the boy, May questions what he means by this. The redhead states that despite the bravado that he puts on, he never thought he would make it this far in the tournament. He knows that everyone thinks that he is the best there is, but he knows that's not true. You don't say, May replies in a sarcastic tone, but Morrison misses this. Yeah, I know my outer persona is one of confidence and machismo, but the truth is, the farther I got in the tournament, the more afraid great I became. But why, May asks? Isn't this what you entered the Pokemon League for in the first place? It's here that Morrison reveals that the only reason he had entered was because he felt like he needed to impress his grandpa. The redhead explains that he watched his grandpa growing up. He was always a powerful trainer. He held the spot in the Elite Four for many years and was only second to Drake. Then he retired from the league so he could spend time with me and my cousin. That's why he opened up the gym in Lavaridge, so he could train us one day to take it over. But Flannery was older than me, so it was always going to be her to do that. May is beginning to understand what Morrison is going through as the boy continues, stating that when Ash showed up and beat his grandfather, I knew that I would never be as good as I needed to live up to his legacy. My grandfather spoke so highly of Ash both before and after their battle, while I just made a fool of myself. Also, Ash being his last official battle as a gym leader was what got me the most. Wait, I thought you beat him to get your final badge, May questions. Morrison reveals that by the time he had gotten there, his grandfather had left to go see some friends of the family, so if Morrison wanted to make it to the Evergrande Conference in time, he was forced to battle his cousin, Flannery. That's why he doesn't really feel like he belongs here. Everything that Katie was saying is true. I never beat my grandpa, so I haven't really earned my place in this tournament. Now I have to face Ash, the trainer that was the last one to beat him. I just don't think I have what it takes to rise to the occasion. Now, fully understanding what Morrison is going through, May begins to tell her about Norman being her father and how she felt like she would be a constant disappointment if she didn't follow in his footsteps. But her father offered her some words of wisdom that she thinks will do Morrison some good. No trainer really knows what they want to do when they first start out. Every path is different. It's up to you to find it. You will not be the same as Moore because you are not him. Morrison cocks an eyebrow inquisitively at May as she explains that Morrison needs to ask what he wants to do. Flannery wanted to be the gym leader, but was that what you wanted or just something you thought you wanted? Morrison looks at the ground for a moment. You know, I never really thought about it like that. May explains that his grandfather becoming an Elite Four member wasn't something that he planned on doing. It was just something that happened. She's sure of it. And how would you know? Morrison questions. The girl goes on to explain that she and her family are originally from the Johto region. Her father got the offer to be a gym leader a few years after her and Max were born. I don't think that my dad ever had plans to become a leader, but at the time it seemed like the best option for stability for his growing family. I'm sure it's the same for your grandpa. Morrison just sits there in silence listening to May. The point I'm trying to make is I don't think the greatness was something that Moore was after. It was something that just happened as a result of him living his life. The redhead remains quiet as May stands up. I know you don't have to take my advice, but just remember, whether you believe it or not, you are in the finals against Ash. I think it'll be a sign of disrespect to both him and your grandpa if you didn't bring your best to the battle. May then walks off, leaving Morrison to his inner thoughts, all the while having found a strange sense of calm that she hasn't felt since she got here as the night fades on. The next morning, we are only moments from the start of the finals. In the center of the main stadium stands Mr. Goodshow, Steven, and the Elite Three. They have all taken the stage in order to announce the combatants and show a sign of respect to both of them. Goodshow welcomes everyone to the final day of the Evergrande Conference. He explains that this will be a full 6-on-6 battle and it will be held on 2 different battlefields. This proves to be a momentous occasion as the winner of this battle will not only be the victor over all of the other trainers in the region, but earn the right to challenge the strongest type specialist in the region that it has to offer. Now, I will hand things over to Steven so that way he can introduce the 2 trainers that have become very well known over the last week. Taking the mic, the regional champion calls Ash and Morrison to the field. The 2 trainers enter from the opposite sides of the battlefield and join Steven in the center. The champion gives a brief speech on how he is proud that they have made it this far. No matter the winner, he knows that they will both give it their all. He then tells the 2 to shake hands as a sign of respect. Turning, Ash and Morrison look at each other. Our hero asks if Morrison has figured out what he needed. Smiling, the redhead tells Ash that he only needs to figure one thing out: how he's going to celebrate his win. Chuckling, Ash states that Morrison will have to get past him first. The 2 then reach out to shake hands as Steven had asked. However, they are going to be stopped mid-reach by a thundering voice.
This battle will not proceed until all matters have been settled.
This is accompanied by an ear-piercing cry that rings over the crowd, commanding the silence of everyone in attendance. Turning to see the source of this interruption, everyone is shocked by what they see. Above them, slowly lowering into the battlefield, is a Salamence, and on its back is the final member of the Elite Four, Drake. This triggers a flurry of murmurs that echo throughout the crowd. Well, it looks like you finally decided to join us, Goodshow says with a laugh. However, Drake doesn't budge, as his gaze is fixated on one person before him. Raising a finger, Drake points.
You and I will battle before any other business is conducted today.
This causes Morrison and the others to look at who the old sea dog is pointing to, but it is none other than the regional champion Steven. As the murmurs begin to grow in volume, the champion tells Drake that he has some nerve in missing the whole tournament just to show up and demand a battle. This is the day of the finals. These two are the ones that will battle, not us, Steven says before referring to Ash and Morrison. However, the old man doesn't even blink.
You and I will battle whether you agree or not.
While Salamence hisses as if it were ready to attack at a moment's notice. This behavior catches everyone off guard, as it's not something that Drake is known for. Even Goodshow is taken aback by it. However, where others see problems, the president sees opportunity. He then gets on the mic and asks the crowd if they would like to see an exhibition match between the champion and the strongest of the Elite Four. This causes the crowd to erupt in approval, as the Elites and Steven question what is going on here. The champ leans down and asks if Goodshow has lost his mind. However, the old man says it's quite the opposite. This is a chance for both of you to show something that hasn't happened in over 5 years. Besides, I don't think you have a choice, Steven. Look, the crowd wants it, and it appears Drake won't accept anything else. The champion peers across the arena only to realize the Goodshow speaks the truth. Knowing that this is something that has been put off for a very long time, Steven relents. Looking into the eyes of the Dragon Master, I accept your challenge. With a smile that cracks like the waves of a raging sea, Drake shows signs of happiness for the first time since even Goodshow has known him. The president tells them both this will be a one-on-one. To keep it short, as they still have a championship battle to start. The two trainers both nod in agreement as Drake flies off to one side of the battlefield. Steven does the same as both Ash and Morrison are trying to figure out what is going on. However, Sydney quickly speaks up.
Hey you two, why don't you join us up top? We have the best seat in the house, and I'm sure you won't want to miss the action.
Both the boys quickly rush to follow the elites as they remove themselves from the area while Goodshow stays behind. The president has taken such an interest in this that he wants to be the ref for this match, so he is going to call things. As they prepare for the unexpected battle, we find Ash and Morrison in the champions box with Sydney, Glacia, and Phoebe. Ash questions Sydney what this is all about. However, his answer is going to be less than helpful.
I'm afraid that's beyond me, boys. I've only been a member of the Elite for a very short time, so this problem predates me. However, I can tell you this is one that has festered below the surface since I joined.
This causes both Ash and Morrison to wonder what it could be. Ash has never seen Elite Four members fight like this with their regional champion, and Morrison had never heard his grandfather speak anything but good of both Drake and Steven. But an unlikely source of information will be divulged here from none other than Glacia.
The problem is the fact that Steven is the champion.
This causes everyone to fixate their eyes on the ice specialist.
You two are too young to remember a time before Steven, but let me fill you in. The previous champion of the region was, in fact, Drake. Back during your grandfather's time in the Elite Four, him and Drake were best friends. Even the leader of Morville City, Watson, was a member of our group. Moore was the strongest of the four of us, with Drake as our leader. But then Steven challenged the league. He was a once-in-a-lifetime challenger, someone that could command his Pokemon with the precision of a doctor. He cut a path through the Elite Four with nary any effort. But then it came to the battle he had with Drake. He had been champion of the region for over 30 years. No one could take the title from him. However, Steven was the first one to push the old man to his limits as a trainer. Their battle was so intense that it is said that it influenced nature itself by summoning a thunderstorm. But in the end, Steven was able to best Drake. He became champion, and Watson left to become a gym leader, as he no longer enjoyed the type of high-level battling that the league requires. This relegated Drake to the role of elite, something I don't think he was ever able to truly accept.
Silence befalls the room as everyone tries to process what Glacia had just said. As the tension up there levels out, we shift our perspective back down to the battlefield as Drake and Steven are staring each other down. This is foolish, Drake. There is no need for this ludicrous battle.
I'm afraid that we have two differing opinions. This is very much something that is needed. Though you may not see the reason now, I assure you it'll become clear before this day is over. Now send in your Metagross and let's get this underway.
Steven reluctantly pulls the Pokeball from his belt and produces the Pokemon that won the championship for him. The appearance of these two on the battlefield is something that hasn't been seen in the last 5 years. It's truly a sight to behold. The past and the future of the Hoenn region here in one place. Goodshow tells them that this will be single elimination, so he hopes that both will bring their best as he gives the signal to start. Both trainers waste no time in matching each other's powers as their ace meet in the middle with a Dragon Claw and Meteor Mash. Above, Glalie looks on as she can't help but to think that this is starting the same way that it did the last time, before she looks out over the valley as clouds are starting to form. Back in the middle of the field, the two trainers demonstrate their mastery of their respective types as neither can land a single blow for any amount of damage. Even flight isn't an advantage as both Pokemon can take to the skies to close any gaps between them. From the perspective of Steven, this truly seems to be a useless exercise as they are getting nowhere, but when a Meteor Mash fails to land on the head of Salamence, Drake takes his opening.
Now, use a flamethrower.
Doing so, the dragon hits for super effective damage just as thunder begins to roar above the stadium and the clouds begin to move in.
Just like last time. Well, this time it's going to be different. Now, Salamence, use Dragon Claw!
Screeching across the sky, the dragon closes the gap between the two. However, Steven has seen this play out the same way as before, calling for a rock slide that pelts the dragon for super effective damage and sending it into a spiral to the ground.
Salamence, pull up and use a flamethrower!
Correcting its flight, the dragon circles around and fires its flame. Steven isn't waiting for this to come to them as he orders Metagross in to use a Meteor Mash. The four-armed monster charges one of its massive fists and pushes straight through the flames to connect with Salamence in its mouth. Steven is feeling pretty confident about this, stating that this battle will not be a repeat of their last one.
No, it won't be. Now, Salamence, use Crunch!
Suddenly, the dragon's mouth glows in a destructive, dark energy as it latches onto the limb of the metal monstrosity. What follows is a struggle for dominance in the air. Metagross tries to land a Meteor Mash, but is unsuccessful, while Salamence is unable to land a Dragon Claw. Knowing that he has no other choice, Steven calls for a Shadow Ball that strikes the dragon in its face, but it is met with an equal retaliation when a flamethrower is delivered. The intensity of these two attacks are so great that both Pokemon are forced to land so that way they can rest for a moment. As this happens, lightning begins to strike the arena.
It would appear we're in our final moments. Now, let's see which one of us truly deserves the title of champion. Salamence, Dragon Claw!
Metagross, use Meteor Mash. The two Pokemon put everything they have into this attack, aiming to make it their final clash between the two. Bolting down the battlefield, lightning strikes, nearly hitting both of them, but neither Pokemon will let this stop them, as they force their bodies beyond their physical limits. A brief pop can be heard as they break the sound barrier to land these final moves, but just as they come into range of their respective strikes, another bolt of lightning rains down on what looks like the top of Salamence. However, it barely misses the dragon, allowing it to trade their final attacks. Both pseudos struggle to maintain their leverage over the other, refusing to give an inch. However, something has to give. Metagross starts to buckle as it uses the fist that was chomped down on to secure its position. The Metal Goliath's legs are becoming wobbly and Drake commands for Salamence to finish this. Steven and his ace refuse to give in. The Steel type was holding back until Drake made his push. This allows Steven to command one final attempt that overpowers Salamence and forces through the Dragon Claw to smash the lizard in the head as a bolt of lightning crashes down and everyone loses sight of the battle. When the dust settles and everyone can see again, there is a clear victor. Steven has pulled victory from the jaws of defeat. Calling his dragon, Drake says nothing, merely cracking a smile before turning to walk away. Drake, wait, what was the meaning of this? But the Dragon Master says nothing, only walking away, leaving the crowd, Goodshow, and Steven with more questions than answers. All the while, back in Lavaridge, Moore watches on the TV, thinking that it looks like Drake finally got his answer. As Drake vanishes from sight, the crowd is met with mixed feelings of excitement and confusion as they are unsure on how to react to what just happened. However, Goodshow refuses to let that feeling settle as he announces Steven the winner and asks the crowd to give a round of applause for their champion and his challenger. This shakes the funk from everyone as it seems to follow the president's lead with cheers and approval. Now for the main reason we are all here, the finals of the Evergrande Conference. Up in the champions box, both Ash and Morrison are watching in a trance, both missing the signal to return to the field.
Boy, you blokes need to get your heads out of the clouds. That was your cue to get moving.
This shakes the two back to reality. They both then take off running before anything else can be said. The two turn this into a competition on who can reach the field first. However, just as they shove themselves through the door, they pass Drake. Both Ash and Morrison barely notice the old man, only focused on the battle ahead. However, Drake's sudden appearance isn't going to be let off that easy, as Glalie is the first to challenge the elite on his absence.
You have a lot of explaining to do, old man.
But the Dragon Master simply cracks an uncharacteristic smile as he looks down onto the battlefield. Down in the stands, Brock, Max, and Tyson are watching, trying to wrap their heads around what just happened. They never expected there to be a battle between the champion and one of the elites. This has caused a lot of confusion to break out among the crowd. Our heroes try wrapping their heads around the situation at hand, as it was plainly obvious that the battle between Drake and Steven was a personal one. However, they're not going to get the chance to get to the heart of this matter, as from within the stadium, both Ash and Morrison come running onto the battlefield. However, as they are cheered, it's like nothing else matters to the boys, as both are focused on one thing, beating the other to the middle of the stadium, where both Mr. Goodshow and Steven both now stand. But they are both equal in this endeavor and begin to argue over who is faster. Both Steven and Goodshow just watch on, as they are unsure about how they should approach. This eventually starts to wear on Steven's nerves, as he decides to interrupt the boys with a very stern voice that demands their attention. Now standing clenched up from being yelled at, Steven lets out a sigh, telling them that they both don't have time for this. This is the final battle of the Victory Road tournaments, and they both need to focus. The two knuckleheads finally clue into the situation, as they had completely forgotten the reason that they were in the stadium in the first place. This causes the two to challenge each other to who can get to their side of the field first to start the battle. Goodshow laughs, while Steven is a little annoyed, as this day has already now been completely thrown off schedule. They're starting the finals an hour behind, so with the tone of frustration in his voice, Steven wishes them both luck before handing the mic to Mr. Goodshow. The president then welcomes everyone to the finals and wishes both of their combatants luck. He wants nothing but their best. The president then hands the mic over to the ref, who explains the rules. Goodshow then joins Steven on the sidelines. Come on, let's head back up top for a better view. The champion says nothing, knowing full well he will have plenty to say once he can confront Drake about his actions today. As those two head to the champion box, we move over to the battle that is just getting started. Both Morris and Ash have declared that they have already won before the first Pokeball has even thrown. While in the stands, May is enjoying the fact that she was able to help Morrison get over the feelings of doubt that he was having. At least someone is able to, she thinks to himself, as both trainers finally make their first choices after a brief argument and the ref ordering them to make it or be disqualified. For Ash, it's his newest evolution in Slaking, while Morrison has chosen to lead with his starter, the powerful water-type Swampert. However, Slaking seems uninterested in the Pokemon before it, causing Morrison to question Ash if he's actually taking their battle seriously. Smiling, the boy says he is. That's why Slaking is up first. If Morrison can't convince Slaking that he has a Pokemon that can challenge its power, then it won't take Morrison or his Pokemon seriously. This agitates the redhead a bit, as he tells Swampert to show Ash their real power with the Hydro Pump. However, this prompts only an eye roll from the Sloss, as it is unimpressed. The damage from this move was minimal at best, so Morrison will have to do better. Wanting to prove their strength, the boy orders a Mud Shot, but it has the same effect as Ash yells that they need to do better. All the while in the stands, Max is commenting that Ash is really in control of Slaking. He was wondering how its evolution would affect their ability to battle. Brock states that Ash watched Norman and his Slaking very carefully in their battle, so it's no surprise that Ash would mimic your dad in their first battle that he had to use it in. Tyson even weighs in, stating that it's odd that Slaking is so lazy at this point. When it battled Metagross, there was no hesitation in it. However, Brock offers an explanation, stating that it was probably amped up from evolving in battles, so that's understandable. But now that it has had some time to get used to its new body, I bet we haven't even begun to see what it is capable of. As they continue their commentary, we move back to the battle, which isn't looking too good. Swampert just finished its 5th Ice Ball, which only managed a slack off from the gigantic gorilla. Come on, Morrison, you have to be able to do much better than that. This is the first battle, and the only thing you managed to do is give Slaking a bath, Ash states. This causes the redhead's fiery temper to begin to boil. Throwing all caution to the wind, he calls for the last move in their arsenal, a Focus Punch. As the starter charges its fist, Slaking cracks an eye, finally showing some interest in this battle. However, the Sloth does the oddest thing, as it allows Swampert to hit it completely unguarded, almost as if it were testing to see if the water type was worth its time. This causes Morrison and Swampert to flinch, as they are unsure about what just happened. But the redhead is going to finally get his wish when Slaking begins to stand and slams its fists into the ground hard enough to shake the stands where Ash's friends sit. Looks like Slaking has finally grown interested in what you have to offer. So what do you say we get this started? Ash questions, before ordering a Focus Punch. All the while, across the region in the Petalburg gym, Norman is watching watching this battle with laser focus, wanting to see what Slaking can truly do. But he won't be disappointed, as the fight between Swampert and the gorilla becomes a slobber knocker. Neither one gives anything to defense, as punch after punch is thrown. But Morrison quickly realizes that they are outmatched. Even though Swampert is his first Pokemon, the raw power that Slaking has is too much for the water type alone. However, the redhead refuses to give an inch, telling Swampert to push through. As a result of the belief its trainer has in the water type, this causes something that Morrison has never seen it do before to happen. Swampert's Torrent ability has become active. Now glowing in a blue watery aura, Morrison is beginning to feel like they can win this, ordering hydro pumps to apply pressure to Slaking. However, Ash isn't going to back down. This is the battle that he knows Slaking would never turn away from. So, after using a slack off to heal up, it's right back to the slugfest. But unfortunately for Morrison, Ash and his monster battler prove to have the endurance as they use their last slack off that Slaking has to outlast Swampert and drop it with the feint attack, giving Ash the first win. Morrison recalls his starter, feeling oddly calm about this exchange. While he is now behind, his Swampert unlocked a new power to help him win. That has him more excited about this than anything. Ash in the comments on this, stating that he has grown a lot since their first meeting. Smiling back, Morrison tells Ash it's not the only thing that has grown, as he is ready to produce his second Pokemon, the fighting type Hitmontop. Questioning his normal type if it still wants to battle, Slaking beats his chest to signify that it is ready for any challenger. With the two Pokemon chosen for the second battle, Ash commands another Focus Punch. Slaking rushes in to demonstrate his power. However, this is going to be met with some fancy footwork from Hitmontop, as a triple kick is about to disperse the punch and actually hit Slaking in the gut for a decent amount of damage. While this did hit, Slaking refuses to back down, slamming its fists into the battlefield. However, Morrison and his fighting type are not intimidated by Slaking's size, as the fighting type glows at the command of a bulk up from Morrison. Looking on, Ash can see Slaking is more fatigued than it is letting on, but he chooses to push further with the battle as we move up to the Champions box. Here, we find the elites watching the battle and Drake at the same time, but this is going to be interrupted when Steven and Goodshow enter the room. The champion shows no decorum as he demands that Drake explain himself this instant. The Dragon Master turns his gaze from the battle below with that same uncharacteristic smile that he has had on his face since he walked into the room. Everyone looks at the old sea dog, awaiting his response. However, he simply turns back to the battle.
Look, soon we will be facing one of those two boys down there. Do you think they will offer a challenge?
Unfortunately, this explanation isn't one that Steven was looking for, as he is getting tired of the old man's antics. However, he is stopped by Goodshow. Let him be. I'm sure he will explain himself in due time, but for the moment, Drake is right. We should be focusing on the battle below and nothing else. All the while, Sydney and Phoebe can't keep their thoughts silent.
Psst. Hey, Phoebes. Has the old man ever acted like this before?
Not that I remember. He's always been so uptight, but this is something far different than anything I've ever seen.
Well, I hope he ain't off his gourd after all that stuff that happened to Team Aqua and Magma.
However, this comment is going to be brought to an end as Drake lets out a cheer as the battle has come to an end, with Hitmontop taking the victory over Slaking.
Oh man, I missed the best part!
Phoebe consoles Sydney as he was looking to not miss a minute of the finals. All the while, Glalie has her gaze fixated on the Dragon Master.
Just what is your ploy here, Drake?
As the Ice Master contemplates what her superior is up to, we move back down to the battlefield with both Ash and Morrison recalling their two Pokemon. The redhead states that he wasn't exactly sure if he'd be able to take down Slaking. His power is impressive. Ash thanks Morrison, saying that he's not even fully sure what it is capable of as of yet, but they can worry about that later. Right now, they have a battle to keep going. The scoreboard is tied at 1 apiece, so the next choice will shift momentum for the trainer that wins. Morrison states that'll be him, calling on his Arcanine to take this battle. However, Ash doesn't seem worried as he turns to his starter. Hey buddy, you ready? The mouse sparks, jumping in, ready for its next battle. Pikachu starts strong with the quick attack. However, the mouse is going to find out that it isn't the fastest thing on this battlefield as Morrison calls for an extreme speed. Arcanine blurs across the battlefield before connecting with the mouse with enough force that sends it sliding off the battlefield. However, this isn't enough to take it out, as Pikachu is quick to jump back in. Knowing that they need to shift it up, Ash calls for an Iron Tail. However, this is too matched with the crunch that catches the mouse. Arcanine clamps down on Pikachu's tail, only for the mouse to let out a yelp from the force that it takes. However, Ash isn't pulling any many punches here, seeing this as a prime opportunity for Pikachu's most powerful move, in a Thunder. As the mouse summons all the electricity that it has and lights up the fire doggo, Morrison suddenly has a crazy idea. He tells Arcanine not to give in and to use a Flame Wheel. This catches everyone off guard, as normally this would be aimed at Pikachu. However, this time, the target is something a little bit more broad as Arcanine charges forward in the direction of the stadium wall. Once Ash clues in on what's happening, he tells Pikachu to try and break Arcanine's hold, but it's no use, as a mix of fire and lightning can be seen charging into the wall before a mild explosion and rocks shoot up in the air. Once the dust settles, Arcanine stands up, though it seems a paralysis has set in, but Pikachu is cradled with spirals in its eyes. Ash rushes to its side, worried that Pikachu is hurt, but it's just out cold. With a sigh of relief, Ash picks it up, telling the mouse not to worry. They will take it from here. Walking back to his side of the field, Ash sets Pikachu down so that way it can cheer on their friends while he contemplates his next choice. Morrison now has the lead, so he needs something that will be able to shake things up. But luckily, he has the perfect choice as the boy declares, "Flygon, I choose you." As the dragon pops from the ball, it lets out a brief pop with its wings as they begin to flap. Instantly, Morrison knows that this could be trouble. However, he doesn't think that it would be a safe switch at the moment, so he decides to stick with Arcanine heading into this next battle. As the bell rings, Ash wastes no time calling for a dig to dodge an extreme speed. This causes Arcanine some trouble as it isn't as fast due to the paralysis, allowing Flygon to tunnel down, giving it the advantage. However, Ash seems to choose patience here, telling Flygon to stay submerged, forcing Morrison to go on the attack. Knowing they need to do something, the redhead calls for a flamethrower to be fired into the tunnel that Flygon had dug. However, the dragon is quick to emerge at the command of its trainer with a dragon's breath that engulfs Arcanine as it is mid-attack. While this isn't enough to take it out, it does cause some damage as Flygon is back into the ground for more cover. Morrison is beginning to become a little frustrated by this as the pattern seems to continue without end. This results in multiple fields across the battlefield as Arcanine is forced to just hang back as it is unsure on which one to attack from. But this is when Ash decides that it's time to go on the attack as the boy calls for a dragon burst. However, Ash tells Flygon to use the tunnels that it dug as a means to flood the battlefield with balls of Draconic Ore. This results in Arcanine having to dodge a barrage from below, which unfortunately it is unable to do, and it soon starts to take the attacks. This gives Ash the opening needed as he orders another dragon breath that feeds the balls of ore, causing a giant explosion that envelops Arcanine. In the end, as the smoke clears, the doggo is left smoldering with spirals in its eyes, and Ash the winner of this round. Recalling his fire type, Morrison watches Ash do the same, knowing that he's at a point that he needs to start preserving his fresh team members. Morrison sends back in Hitmontop. However, Ash's choice is going to be one that the redhead wasn't expecting, as Mawile pops from its ball, ready to start this battle. Morrison's nerves begin to calm as he feels like this will be the match that he can begin to take control of, calling for a triple kick. As the fighting type spins in the direction of the two-mouth terror, Ash calls for a crunch that reinforces Morrison's confidence in the situation. However, the boy is going to see exactly why Ash ordered this move when Hitmontop is stopped dead in its tracks as the jaws lock down tightly into place. With his confidence slowly sliding away, Morrison yells for him to break loose with a rock slide. However, this has little effect on the steel type. Feeling that they have this one wrapped up, Ash calls for a hidden power that engulfs Hitmontop in flames. Unable to escape the jaws of defeat, Morrison can do nothing but watch as Hitmontop flails about until the flames drain the last of its energy, bringing this battle to an end. Now, with 3 Pokemon down and a break triggered, Morrison is forced to take a seat and think about the second coming half. However, while most would use this time to regroup, Morrison is doing the opposite. He watches Ash and Pikachu talk and play. In the mind of Morrison, this isn't something that should be happening. How is Ash so cool and calm, he thinks? Is there something that he doesn't know? Maybe he already has this battle figured out. These thoughts and many others begin to run through the boy's head, turning him into his own worst enemy once again. Morrison is so trapped in his thoughts that when the time for the break is called and they were supposed to return to the battlefield, the boy doesn't even hear it at first. It's only because Ash telling him that they should get back out there and finish this that he even snaps out of it. As the two boys return to the battle area, the crowd is cheering them on. This whole day has been one of surprise. The only thing they care about is seeing more battles. However, there's one factor that Ash can see from Morrison as they take their positions for the second half. The boy seems distracted as the battlefield changes from the flat grass to a very rocky terrain. As the two boys pull out their Pokeballs to start the second half, Pikachu watched the most peculiar thing happen. Ash stops Morrison from selecting his next Pokemon. This causes the ref to interfere, telling Ash that he is not to hold up the battle. Stalling will not be tolerated, but the boy swears that's not it. The ref turns to Goodshow unsure about how to proceed, but the old man simply says that they will allow this as long as it has a purpose. Ash promises that it does. Turning to Morrison, our hero tells the redhead that he needs to stop worrying about everything else. Ash can see that he is distracted by something, but Morrison shouldn't be worrying about anything else besides their battle. Morrison questions Ash on how he could be so calm. It seems like Ash thinks he's already won this battle. For all he knows, Ash has. However, the boy states that isn't the case at all. Ash is simply enjoying himself. Morrison is someone that Ash has always felt like he can just have a battle with no stress. strings attached. For Ash, even though they're in the finals, for him, it doesn't feel like that. Every moment has been fun. For him, there's nothing but the battle. It's at this moment Morrison realizes why Ash was smiling during the break. With everything that Morrison has been trying to accomplish and the legacy he has been trying to live up to, the boy simply forgot to have fun. Smiling, Morrison thanks Ash for reminding him of that. The closer he had gotten to the league, the more the pressure had started to get to him. With a deep breath, Morrison tells Ash that he had better be ready. This battle is just getting started. Smiling back, Ash can see that his friend is now ready to battle, so he tells Morrison not to hold back. The two then send in both of their Pokemon simultaneously, as if they were on the same brain. The two Pokemon they caught on the same day, Mawile and Steelix. All the while, Bitcho smiles, seemingly pleased with the result of this brief delay. Just as the president shows pleasure in this result, above in the champions box, Steven and the others elite watch the match as Drake, the Dragon Master, still carries that uncharacteristic smile he's been holding as he watches down below. As we pan back to the battle, we can see an Iron Tail and Lava Whip being traded with equal power. Both Ash and Morrison know that this battle is more than just a battle. Steelix used to be the muscle for Mawile and their gang back in the Valley of Steel, but now, here they stand, on equal footing, ready to prove who is the stronger of the two. This battle will not only be a determination of power and skill, but of technique. This is where Mawile possesses the advantage with all the experience that it has had in contests. However, there is a reason why Steelix was its protector, and it is shown here when a dig is used to dodge a Lava Whip. Ash tells his Pokemon to feel out the ground. Steelix will let you know when it is coming up to attack. Luckily, it isn't long as the vibrations come with a vengeance. However, Ash feels that they are ready, ordering a Lava Whip to form a shield around it. But Morrison is going to take a page from Ash's book, ordering a Dragon's Breath from under the ground. This is something that Mawile cannot block, causing a status effect for the attack to kick as it flinches from a paralysis. Seeing his opening, Morrison yells for Steelix to strike. Taking the moment, the Iron Snake breaks the surface, sending Mawile skybound for super damage. Knowing they need a counter, Ash commands for a Sand Whip to strike from a distance, but this won't be enough, as its former muscle tanks the attack so that way it can land an Iron Tail. That sends Mawile into the arena wall, leaving it cratered with spirals in its eyes, and bringing this battle to a close, just as Pikachu was before it. Recalling his Steel Princess, Ash thanks it for all the effort that it put in, but he can see that the momentum has shifted. It seems his speech did what it was supposed to. The question is, will it cost Ash this battle? However, the boy can't worry about that now, as Morrison recalls Steelix. He needs to consider his next option. Over on Morrison's side, he's feeling really good about where he's at. The boy is beginning to believe that he can actually do this. Only 3 more wins, and he will be the winner of not only the battle, but the tournament. The fire in the redhead begins to burn as he holds the ball for his next choice, his dragon type, the mid-stage Shelgon. While from Ash, we hear him call upon his faithful serpent, Milotic. As the ball pops, the battle begins with a clash of Icy Wind and Fire Blast that favors the dragon and strikes Milotic. Though Ash is undeterred, ordering a Twister, which is countered by a Dragon Rage, stalemating the two attacks. Feeling confident that they can take this, Morrison pulls out all the stops, calling for a double edge. However, it seems Ash is on the same page, telling Milotic to close the gap and take the attack. While this does cause some damage, the serpent is now in a prime spot to coil around the dragon. This allows a clean shot with the Twister, at the cost of some damage to itself. Unfortunately, this does cause the serpent's grip to loosen, allowing Shelgon to break free. Before it can take any more damage, Morrison recalls it, only to send in Electrode as his next choice. Ash knows that they will be at a disadvantage, but chooses to keep Milotic in for the time being. This allows the next battle to start, with Ash taking the lead, ordering an Icy Wind. However, Morrison is quick to demonstrate how capable his Spark Ball is with the rollout that manages to blow through the ice attack and hit Milotic. Ash calls for a coil around the ball, but Electrode has no flat surfaces, and this only causes the next rollout to fail. However, what is going to happen is an opening that Ash unexpectedly created for his opponent as a shockwave surges through Milotic for a massive amount of damage. This leaves the serpent on its final breath. Knowing that they need to do something here, Ash orders Milotic in with an Icy Twister that blankets the battlefield. While this does manage to hit the ball of electricity, the fact is, it is unable to stop another rollout from coming through to strike the serpent down for a final time, bringing Morrison into the lead. This shocks both Ash and the redhead. That feeling that Morrison was starting to have is growing, and now he can actually see a path to victory. Feeling confident, Morrison chooses to leave in Electrode for the moment, as he feels it's the best to deal with whatever Ash has left. While in the stand, May is beginning to grow excited for Morrison. The talk that they had and the way that the boy has been battling gives her hope that Morrison may actually win. But then, this stops the girl cold. Wait, Morrison? Win? What is May thinking? She wants Ash to win, doesn't she? The girl now finds herself unsure of what she wants, as the cheers of Max and Brock drown out her whimpers with Ash's next choice for Glalie. Morrison tells Ash that his Ice Head won't be able to outroll his Ball of Fury, but our hero sees things a different way, calling for his Ice type to start with an Ice Beam. Morrison knows that Electrode is faster, so he orders it to outrun the attack with a rollout. This causes the Ice Beam to just barely miss, forcing Glalie to stay on the attack. The redhead is feeling pretty good as circles are ran around Glalie. The way Morrison sees it, Electrode will have enough speed built up that it will be able to one-shot the Ice type, but he doesn't want to wait forever, ordering Electrode to finish the attack and close the gap between them before Ash comes up with something clever. However, little does Morrison know that Ash has already laid his trap, as when Electrode turns for its strike, the ball loses all momentum as it begins to spin in place. This is when the boy clues in on what Ash had been up to, as the battlefield is now a mixture of rock and ice, leaving little area for Electrode to roll on. Smiling, Ash decides that it's time for them to go on the attack with a headbutt that hits unguarded, sending Electrode into the arena wall for some serious damage. But this provides Morrison with a point of attack the boy had not yet considered, as Electrode bounces off the wall and is sent back in the direction of Glalie. Realizing the situation, Ash tells Glalie to use an Ice Beam on the ground in front of it. This creates an ice pillar that forces Electrode to bounce off of it again. Seeing a path to victory, Ash tells the Ice type to keep it up as more pillars are created, and Electrode just continues to bounce like a pinball trapped in a never-ending motion. No matter what the boy does, his Electric type is unable to break the cycle. Realizing they only have one path, Morrison decides that he needs to clear a path for his other Pokemon and calls for the last move he can with Electrode: Explosion. Suddenly, the ball begins to glow, going critical as a percussion of energy is sent throughout the battlefield, leveling everything in the process. Though it costs him one of his Pokemon, Morrison is happy as he was able to make the battle a draw and leave Ash with only Pokemon. The boy smiles, telling Ash that he had better hope Flygon can go the distance, as things are in his favor. However, Ash simply tells Morrison that he had better look again. The battle is far from over. Squinting into the smoke, Morrison realizes that Ash is right. Electrode lays there with spirals in its eyes, while Glalie looks untouched. Wait, that was a clean hit! The battlefield has been flattened, Morrison yells. Smiling, Ash offers context to the situation, saying Glalie was able to block damage by using a move called Protect, so the only thing that you managed to do was create a flat battlefield, free of ice and debris. Both me and Glalie thank you. Realizing that he is not well off at this thought, Morrison recalls his mom and contemplates his next choice. While that is going on, above in the champions box, Drake finally breaks the silence with an odd question.
Do any of you think these boys have the skills to be elite?
This causes a flurry of questions to be thrown at the Dragon Master, but Drake remains silent as he watches the next battle get underway. Down below, we see Glalie and Shelgon going at it with everything they have. On paper, the Ice type has the advantage, but this was proven to have minimal effect when Shelgon's Fire Blast in play that managed to overpower an Ice Beam and hit Glalie for some serious damage. Knowing that Ash needs to end this, the boy decides that he needs to get creative, calling for an icy headbutt from his floating mouth. Glalie shoots down the battlefield, throwing its weight into the attack, allowing it to spin at high speeds. This combined with the Ice Beam that precedes it allows Glalie just enough cover to push through a Fire Blast and connect with all the force that it can muster, though it did take damage in doing so. This causes Shelgon to flinch, allowing Glalie to bite down hard on the mid-stage, but it's not enough to end this, and the only thing Ash can do is call for a Protect in hopes of blocking a Fire Blast. This works, but Glalie is still in the danger zone and is met with a Dragon Rage that it is unable to block, knocking it out and bringing the battle to an end. Recalling the Ice type, Ash thanks it as he looks out over the battlefield. This is it, he thinks. It's all up to you. Flygon, I choose you! Ash's dragon pops from the ball, ready to finish what it started. Telling Flygon everything comes down to it, the dragon nods and focuses on the task at hand. It can see Shelgon in front of them, but Ash has a way around its defense that Morrison won't be able to do anything about. So, with the start of the battle called, Morrison orders a Fire Blast. However, Ash counters with the dig. This causes the fire attack to fail, but that's not what is going to leave the redhead in a dire situation. But what comes next, with Ash calling for a Sand Tomb? Staring in confusion, Morrison tells Shelgon that there's no time to lie down and take a nap. But then, the boy notices that it's not lying down, but sinking into the battlefield. Wait, Shelgon, climb out, he yells, but the dragon is unable to do so thanks to its bulking size. The weight that it gains since it evolved isn't something that Morrison has properly learned how to compensate for yet. This traps the mid-stage, and all Ash has to do is call for a Dragon's Breath to knock out the trapped dragon, bringing this battle to a one-on-one. Recalling his dragon, Morrison wonders how Ash was able to think of that. He thought for sure that he was going to be able to win, but now, just like that, Ash has managed to even things up. Now, they have come down to the final battle. The last Pokemon for each trainer is chosen, as Morrison wastes no time in sending back in Steelix. The moment is so tense that the crowd and the elites watching above have fallen silent as they hang on the edge of their seats, awaiting for the first command in this final clash. It's here that Ash breaks the silence. Morrison, let's hold nothing back, he yells. I want us to give it all we have. Smiling back, the redhead says that Ash had read his mind, as he gives the first command for an Iron Tail. Ash is quick to counter with a Dragon's Breath that appears to have little effect, pushing through and slamming into the dragon. This sends Flygon into the ground, but it reduces the damage by turning this into a dig. However, Morrison isn't going to let them get away, ordering Steelix in after Flygon. However, this was a huge mistake on the Redhead's part, with Ash calling for a Dragon Burst that is able to connect. But the stubbornness of Morrison and Steelix will not be ignored as the Steel type erupts from the ground with an Iron Tail that sends Flygon skybound. Now, use Dragon's Breath, the boy yells. However, Flygon is just as at home in the sky as it is in the ground, giving it ample space to dodge the attack that is coming its way. But Ash knows that this is something that they can't continue to do. Flygon is tiring, and it may drop if the battle is not brought to an end. Our hero looks around for anything that he can use to end this. Then he notices it. Knowing that this will be all or nothing, Ash tells Flygon to climb as high as it can. Seeing what Ash is going for, the dragon does as it's told, reaching an altitude to block out the sight of everyone from the sun. Now, use dig, Ash yells. Everyone looks on in complete confusion as they think Ash has lost his mind. How is Flygon going to use dig in the sky? But the shock is broken when loud pops ring throughout the valley as Flygon breaks the sound barrier. Suddenly, the dragon comes into view as it is on a collision course with Steelix. Wait, Ash, you're crazy, Morrison yells. This will knock out both of our Pokemon. However, Ash seems confident in Flygon as it speeds towards Steelix. Realizing they need to stop Flygon before it hits, Morrison calls for a Dragon's Breath that is sent in the direction of the flying dragon. However, Ash tells it to remain on course. They are almost there. Everyone can do nothing but watch as Flygon is seemingly going to come in contact with the attack, but then Ash gives a command for a Dragon Burst. Suddenly, Flygon stops with all of its might as the Dragon's Breath reaches it. At this moment, it looks like it's going to be swallowed by the attack, but then another pop echoes and Flygon vibrates its wings as it gets hit by something from behind. That is when Brock and Tyson realize what Ash has done and tells everyone to cover their ears. However, the two that are left out of the loop are Morrison and Steelix, as an invisible force pushes the Dragon's Breath away from Flygon and carries it back, only to slam into the Steel Snake. The force of this attack is enough to slam Steelix into the ground, but this isn't the end, as the area it was in is the sand pit that Flygon had trapped Shelgon in. This leaves the Steel type with no way out as it slides into the pit. The last thing Steelix sees is a burst of green aura coming its way as Flygon uses another Dragon Burst to bring this battle to an end, leaving Steelix cratered in the pit. Now exhausted from what it just did, Flygon drops to the battlefield, unable to maintain flight, though it is still standing, being declared the winner and making Ash the winner of this full battle and the winner of the Victory Road tournament. For a moment, our hero stands there, not registering that he had just won, and still trying to process that his plan had actually worked. But Pikachu is quick to snap our hero back as Flygon doubles over, unable to stay awake after the battle. Rushing out to the dragon, Ash is met in the middle of the battlefield by Mr. Goodshow and Morrison. The boy has to do a double take, asking if he really won. With a chuckle, the president says that he indeed did win, in a fashion that he has not seen in his many years as a leader of the Hoenn League, and he doesn't think that he will ever see again. Helping Flygon up, Ash thanks the dragon for pushing through and bringing them the victory. This is met with a wince before it passes out, forcing Ash to recall it. However, Ash isn't done as Morrison is standing in front of the boy. It looks like he is going to cry, which Ash is unsure on how to respond to, but Morrison simply chokes back the tears and congratulates his friend. While he really wanted to win, he's glad that if he couldn't do it, then Ash would be the one to. Extending his hand, Morrison tells Ash that he's proud that they were able to battle in the finals. However, Ash rejects the handshake, choosing to raise Morrison's hand as they turn to face the crowd. A standing ovation is given to the pair. Even Katie, who was forced to watch from the Pokemon Center due to her previous outburst, is impressed by the battle that she saw, though she still feels that it would have been better if she was the one to have battled Ash. However, this isn't the most exciting thing, as from above the stadium in the champion box, we see Drake place a hand on the shoulder of Sydney.
It looks like we have our next challenger.
Bloody oath. And it's gonna be Ripper.